Bob's a superstar. I need a superstar to shoot it. That made sense. Really, I was in my first year of being a professional photographer. So he said, I need an Avedon. I need a so-and-so, a so-and-so. I said, oh, okay. And I left, and I went to the commissary where I was meeting Bob and his manager, Albert Grossman. We were going to have lunch and talk about, like, what things to do. So I go down, and I sit down at the table, and Albert says, so how are things going with the cover? And I said, no, I'm not doing the cover. They need a star. He said, what do you mean they need a star? He said, we want you to shoot it. I said, well, you talk to the guy. I mean, he's the chief art director. So Albert stood up, and he was an impressive person. And he took my hand by the wrist. And with his other hand, he grabbed Bob's wrist. And he pulled us both up to our feet. And then he went off to the elevator, dragging the two of us. And we got up to the art director's office, and it was ugly. It was very, very ugly, take no prisoners. And when we left, I was going to shoot the album cover. But now I had to be a star. Right? I mean, I couldn't just give them, say, well, here he is, and with the whips, and there's his guitar, and there's this, and I didn't think it should be a guitar, and I didn't think that's who he was anymore. I didn't think he was a folk singer. I thought he was a prince of music. You shall pardon me, Prince. So we made an arrangement to shoot in Sally's home. That's his manager's wife, and that's where his manager lived, up in Woodstock, and that's their house. And Peter, Paul, and Mary had given them that lounge. And I went up with an idea. Sometimes I teach photography, and I ask my students why they go to the museum. Because the correct answer is to steal ideas. Well, if you don't go to the museum, where will you get your ideas? In the Sunday papers? So, I had seen star trails, photographs of them. You know what they are. You put the camera open, you let the stars go around in a circle, the camera doesn't move, and you get these interesting trails. And then I remembered a picture that Richard Avedon made. He was a star. and what he did was a picture of Bridget Bardot. He photographed her with her hair loose, and then he put his hand over the middle of the picture while it was being exposed, so she wouldn't get blurred. And he moved the easel like this, and he made little blurriness in her hair, like waves in the ocean. So I had that in mind, and I said, now what can I do with that kind of idea? I said, well, I could turn the picture 360 degrees, but not expose the middle, where I want Bob to be sharp. So I built a contraption for my view camera, the one you put the black cloth over your head. So I did that, and then I figured if I put the glass in front of the lens at a 45-degree angle, it won't make any reflections back. Then I got black paper and a scissors. I focused my picture in the studio. I was practicing. I was going to do this. I wasn't going to do this. I was going to use it for a fashion spread. And I would make one picture with speed light and get everything. Then I would go to tungsten light so I can make a 1 second exposure while I turned the back of the camera. But I had to put a piece of black paper in front of this, on a piece of glass at a 45-degree angle so it wouldn't make any reflection. So I did all that, and I had it in the studio, and I was making a portfolio to show an art director. Well, I needed something, so I decided I would do this. I would make a recording of the universe around Bob, but he's the center. He knows what's going on. the rest of it is all. So I showed Bob a Polaroid that morning. We went up to Woodstock with his house. I showed Bob a Polaroid, and he liked the idea, but we needed things to move. So we ran all over the house, and we got junk. And we went down the basement. We even found that yellow sign on the left. It's an air raid shelter sign from the Second World War. So we found all these things. We put it all around. Then we have Lord, what's his name, up there. And then we made 10 exposures on a 4x5 camera, color film. And only on one exposure were the cat's eyes on my lens. On one exposure. The other 9 didn't matter. So I showed this to Bob and to Albert a week later, and everybody liked the idea. And I went back to the art director, gave him the picture. He cropped it at the bottom of the couch because he needed a square. So he didn't do it to be, destructive. He did it because it had to be done. So he made a square out of a circle. Just use that for graphics. And it got nominated for a Grammy. It didn't win, but now I have the right to say Grammy nominee. I'd like to tell you that the same night that I was nominated, W. Eugene Smith was also nominated. And he's also a Grammy nominee. A guy who did a Herb Alpert cover of a naked girl with soap suds covering the essentials. Now, go fight, So he won. So we got this cover, and the funny thing is, this cover, have any of you ever seen the reggae Bob Dylan? Oh, we made something. He was kind enough to do some. Here, you can come up afterward and take a look. Here's the same cover, reggae Bob Dylan. A big record company in England hired 2 models, dressed them up like that, built the set, including the fireplace, and did it and said, symphonic Bob Dylan music. People write to me all the time and they say, can you tell us what's down in the blur? Because they collect everything that's in this picture. All over the world they do it. I get pictures of this cover that the people send me, like, there's the wife in the couch holding the dog. There's the guy up front. He's got maybe a harmonica or something. And they angle the couch, and they do that. And if they don't have a fireplace, they have a table with a lamp on it. And I have a whole collection of these things. So I'm pleased about that. I really am. And then I get letters from students. I'm doing a paper on this figure, and I need to know what's behind this leg, and that's it. So that's the story of this particular picture, and told by a nominee with a grant.
Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, one more round of applause for Mr. Daniel Kramer. Thank you so much for just giving us a little insight. And if you can catch him, every one of the